I feel so bad right now for a second because Kevin Lenihan, who's behind the scenes, right? He's waiting to join us. Okay.
Yeah.
He has to listen to us misfits for 10 minutes and the shenanigans that we pull because, as the music is way too loud, we are almost exclusive to TikTok. Like, we're TikTok people, right?
Yes.
Except for you when you try to, you want to be cool now and go on other shows. And I get it. Like, you know, you're not getting enough love on TikTok, so you got to go to YouTube a little bit. I get it. But me personally, I'm a TikTok guy. So he doesn't know the shenanigans, I'm sure. Not that he would follow me anyway or anything on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever, but he doesn't know the shenanigans that we pull on our lives. So I apologize that he has to hang through and see it.
Yeah, I think that it will be an interesting situation. We bring a very a dynamic that some have never seen before, Dave.
It is. First of all, let's address this because I saw a lot of it because we probably had our most animated live on Saturday night because we're losers and we don't go out and we have kids and all this stuff. So we just went apeshit on Saturday night on a TikTok live or whatever we did. We are brother and sister relationship. Let's get that very clear for a second.
Very clear for the people in the back.
Yeah, there's some on-air chemistry that is brother and it's Regis and Kathy Lee, as you can see. That's what, it's Regis and Kathy Lee. That's what we are, okay?
I also feel like it's slightly Chet and Natalie, except they were married, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't want to be considered news, right? I don't want to be a news person. That's not for me. I'll tell you, when I'm doing news, you'll know I'm doing news. I'll make sure there's a disclaimer. But when I'm being me and just being an idiot on TikTok, you'll know. So, all right, as we were saying, because we're just talking to ourselves for a second, Kevin Lenihan is waiting for us to introduce him in 2 seconds here. He's from Yellow Cottage Tales. You've seen him all over Court TV with Vinnie Paladin, my number one enemy, Vinnie Paladin. In a good way, only because he hasn't booked me. He just constantly goes to Nick Rocco nonstop, Joe Krowski nonstop, Kevin Lenihan nonstop, and ignores people like you and me for some reason, which is just a travesty, if you ask me.
Probably makes sense. Makes sense for the brand.
It's probably the right programming decision, probably, but either way, he's an enemy. So we'll talk to Kevin. Kevin clearly disagrees with our viewpoint as it stands. I think you'll be more passionate in defense than I would be per se, and he'll be very passionate on the other side. To me though, he's an interesting character because I do believe he started out this whole journey of his with a pretty critical eye on it. And I think a fair eye early on, and then I think he has kind of gone because he believes in it, right? He's gone exclusive to the thinking Karen Read is guilty. We'll find out if he agrees with the whole intent angle because I don't know every nook and cranny of his opinion, but we'll find it all out. But I think either way, fair discussion. I'm DMing with him on TikTok right now. John DePietro, if you're seeing this, this is not why we're having the interview, but this is number 2, John DePietro. This is number 2, Nurse Kim and Dave talking to individuals back to back who disagree with us on this case. So just because he sees random clips on TikTok, he doesn't watch our lives in full. He has no idea the calls we're taking. We can handle
he
other
just likes
people.
To name drop us and say that we're not doing it.
Which is fine. And we handled it, in my opinion, as classy as we could have. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. We're class acts. And I do want to say, I want to say that I follow, I think I actually follow Kevin's The Yellow Cottage channel because when I first was getting into, feeling out my feelings, I was more middle of the road, right? And I liked his opinion because it would always be a counter to I was like, okay, and very fair, very, very fair. I think that it became not very fair, and I can talk to him further about that. About 3/4 way through the trial, after Proctor was up, then him and I couldn't get on board, but I'd be happy to have that discussion.
Right. My biggest question to Kevin, because he likes to use this term all the time with some of the creators, is does he think that Nurse Kim and Dave are grifters? Because I'll tell you right now, if you do, Kevin, I haven't made a goddamn cent off this damn thing. All right. So that's all I care about. You ask whatever questions you want to ask, but I'm just kidding. Let's bring them on.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, how are you? Kevin Lenihan, Yellow Cottage Tales, join us. First of all, thank you for joining us. And second of all, are we grifters? You got to answer the question.
The fact that I'm here answers that question right there. Okay, because this is the problem. I've reached out to the other people since day one. They have no interest, not just of having me on. They don't want to have anybody on that might give a contrary opinion. pretty much every single one of the other channels. They don't ask any questions. Dave's been communicating with me for, off and on for the last year, and he's always had good questions, and he has been sincerely trying to get at the truth. And I've seen some of Nurse Kim's comments going back, looking at the old and the Yellow Cottage tales during the trial. So I saw you comment in there. So you were watching back then at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, all I want is for people to at least care about the truth and try to ask questions from both sides.
Right. And so before we get into the crazy kind of details and your specific opinions on specific scenarios around this case, I just want to ask you, now that we just from a looking back standpoint, what are you like from your perspective, what disappoints you the most? Like, what did you read during this case, or what did you see, whether it be in the trial or whether it be, something with trial based, not internet. I think the internet disappoints you, just the way the family was treated and some of the other stuff. But from the trial perspective, because one of my biggest things, and it played out on a national scale pretty much, was the investigation. And to me, it was so flawed by Canton Police, Massachusetts State Police. We put a billboard out for the world to see, in my opinion, how not to do an investigation for a fallen police officer. That's my biggest disappointment. After you've watched it, what would you say is your biggest disappointment?
My biggest disappointment is actually with the prosecution, not so much with, and I understand, I'm sympathetic with the fact that Adam Lally had to take on all of this by himself. He had to question all of the witnesses, an enormous amount of material to master. But despite having bulletproof evidence that Karen struck John O'Keefe, they didn't present it in a way that was going to be clear to a jury. And they better do that next time. So I wasn't surprised by the result. As far as the investigation, I mean, every true crime case that I've looked into, investigations are pretty flawed, because you got a lot of different people from different agencies coming together. I didn't really find that many mistakes in this investigation. There's some inappropriate behavior in terms of text messaging by Michael Proctor and stuff like that. But I think a little bit of the flaws of the investigation, we can go into this if you want, are maybe a little bit exaggerated.
You think, okay, now, because I kind of want to go into that, so I apologize, but Kim, do you want to talk about your disappointment, or do you want to rebut that, or do you want me to go into my
thing? Oh yeah, no, yeah, I got to rebut. So with as it relates to the investigation on a whole, I was very, very disappointed, not with the text messages of inappropriate or swearing or calling Karen any names. I don't care about that. That doesn't affect me negatively as much as Michael Proctor texting his 9 friends from high school at 10 o'clock on January 29th, 2022, that he had already stated that Karen had waffled John. Like, that was already committed, done, signed, sealed, delivered. She is going to be paying the consequences for this crime. And I would have liked to see, no matter if Proctor, if Mass State Police, if anybody had thought that, yes, it's pointing in that direction, I would have liked to see a methodical, crossing all of our T's, dotting all of our I's, and going in the house, just if they had done things, Kevin, then I wouldn't have a leg to stand on, right? If there were certain things done in the beginning of this investigation, then I couldn't scream from the top of like a rooftop saying that doesn't make sense, because it would have happened if it was any other one of us in the community, in my opinion.
Did you want to go on, Dave, or do you want me to just answer that?
The only thing I was going to say back to you in terms of, because I definitely disagree in the sense that there were some flaws in my opinion. It seemed almost like they this goes to obviously the people who believe that there's a cover up and the police are involved and all that stuff. It seems like they did everything in their power to make it look like that was their plan, if it was not their plan. Does that make sense? Like, the idea that Canton Police immediately basically became conflicted out of the case, right? And then, where are we going to bring the car? Oh, we're going to bring the car to the Canton Police Department Sallyport, when they had other options. To me, it's like, that's so basic, and it's so like from an investigative standpoint, like, who thinks that's a good idea? Or do you just think that's so minor that it's really not a big deal? I think that feels like a big deal to me.
But like a lot of things, that was explained during the trial. So the car was covered with snow and ice, and before they could investigate that, you don't want to be scraping snow off,
right,
for evidentiary reasons. So they had to bring it to a heated garage, and that's not what they standard had. But the Sally Port in Canton did have that, and they didn't testify in this trial. But I downloaded a booklet that showed that standard procedure nationally is to bring the vehicle, if in an accident like this, to a location closest to the scene, because in many cases they want to bring it back out to the scene. Now I know they didn't do that here until the trial, but it's somewhat standard procedure. As far as the investigation generally, and I'm no expert at this, but just in the other criminal cases that I've looked at, I agree with you that a huge problem seems to be in cases where they've got it wrong and there's many innocent people in jail. The problem is a rush to judgment, right? And then once you make this decision too early, you get this tunnel vision. So if there was a situation here where John was killed inside the house, then that rush to judgment would have resulted in them being less likely to find it. So I agree with you. There are some problems there on that. Although they did not have probable cause to go inside the house. And I think in reality, they got it right. This was a simple hit and run case with a lot of other stuff that got stirred up by the defense team over time that looks really suspicious, like the Sally Port issue, but most of it really has been explained away. And that's what we
Kevin,
have
if
to
this
really.
was a,
Good,
oh,
good.
sorry, I'm so sorry. I was just gonna
That's okay.
ask you if you think that this is just a simple hit and run, a simple hit and run, it just happened. But why did Lally and Morrissey decide to go for second degree?
Well, if you had a lawyer on, they'd give you a better explanation, but there are the three prongs of second degree, but in general, you're looking for malicious intent. But malicious
Yep,
intent doesn't have to be, I made a decision to kill John. There's all
a
kinds of intent.
forethought. Yeah.
So one part of intent could be, I made a decision to step on the gas in reverse for 62 feet when there were people in the area. So technically, that does satisfy. Now, I think practically a lot of jurors are not going to want to send someone to jail for murder for that.
Mhm.
And then there also is the issue: when did she know that she did it? And during that time, she could have been calling 911. So she called her parents at 1:10. She called her parents at 4:40. She called her parents at 4:42. At 4:45, she wakes up the niece screaming. At 5 o'clock, she calls Jen and says, my taillight is broken. And she calls Kerry and says, John's dead. I think he's been hit by a plow. So by that time, she had a good sense of what happened, but she didn't call 911.
But you're
Yeah, but
referencing
that's us assuming that, though. That's us because there is no evidence of that, right? And we can't just go by our feelings. Like, by her doing, like, yes, there are actions that you would say, oh, that doesn't make sense to me, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense in Karen's world, right? And because there was no proof, and because as much as it was alluded to that when Karen was out driving at 5 o'clock in the morning, that it was a large of the Commonwealth supporters side stating that, she drove by and she saw Officer John O'Keefe. That was like, kind of part of the theory that she had seen him there and then she left, but that never even came out from Guarino, although they did do the satellites, right? And say that like she was close to this one, but she was also there. I feel like they would have 100% made that correlation had there been 100% bulletproof evidence that occurred.
Yeah, there's definitely not. So, we knew her GPS was off. There were indications of that, but it turns out it had been off for weeks. So there was no intent there. And I think you're right that proving beyond a reasonable doubt that she knew that she returned to the scene of the crime, I don't think that happened at all. And I never really thought that you were going to get a conviction on second degree. However, there are other questions too. Are there ethical obligations to the family to let the jury decide that? Because the jury, as you see in the trial, they're the decider of facts. So you give them the evidence and let them decide it. But I never thought there was probably going to be much of a chance of them getting a conviction on second degree.
That stuff. Do you carry, and we've said this on our lives, do you carry a lot of weight in her words that morning where I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? All the emotion that she, in my opinion, I believe it was natural emotion. Like, that's just my opinion. I understand how other people take it the other way. I would wake up that morning after a bender or whatever and be like, I did this, I did that. What did I tweet? Did I go live? Did I hit him? Did I, like that's my
Yeah.
personality. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people like that.
Yeah.
So I never really truthfully carried a lot of weight in the, did I hit him? Did I not? Did you, does that factor into yours? Cause I know it factors into a lot of people's.
I 100% agree with you. And I said this to contexts that I've had, with the investigators going back to the fall. And I've said, if you're going to put too much emphasis on her statements at the scene, you're going to lose. I said back then, you need to get an accident reconstructionist that provides a convincing theory to a jury, or you're not going to win. And so, because we don't know what Karen was thinking when she was saying that stuff, and we don't even know exactly what she
What was
said or how
said.
she said it. I don't suspect any kind of you know, deliberate colluding on the part of the first responders, but it's natural to go back to the station and over weeks talk about, you're sitting in the station, you're talking about what you heard and just unintentionally influence each other. So we just don't know to any witness statement. I've taken this even just on witness statements in any case. If you don't any statement that's not backed up by more sound physical evidence, I put on a very lower value. Now,
Mhm.
that said, it does still have a value when you combine it with all the other evidence. But by itself, no, I would definitely not put that high up, and I wouldn't convict her on that.
So Kevin, I know a lot about you because of, like I said, I definitely liked your channel. Just and not a problem to hear from another side. I've never been covering or anything that there was such like vitriol that I will feel online. Like anytime I go on Twitter, like everybody just wants to rip you apart, and that's totally fine. That is what it is. But, for somebody to just have a difference of opinion, this shouldn't be like, as hot as it gets in this case, in my opinion.
I disagree.
I want justice for Officer John.
I disagree firmly with you on that, Kim. I think if reality is, if you believe that there was a cover up for a fallen police officer, if you firmly in your gut believe that happened, why would you not be passionate and legitimately? That's where I know a lot of people we talk about her. Right. But that's what I'm saying. I could understand if you hated somebody that thinks that Karen Reed did this because you believe that there's an entire orchestrated plot at play, that you should hate anybody who disagrees with you on that, because at the end of the day, that caused the death of a Boston police officer. That's what I always say is Turtle Boy, and we always do the disclaimer, you may not like how he says it and what he does or whatever, but he's truthful when he says I don't give a fuck who you are. I believe that they did this to John O'Keefe in that home. And if you disagree with me, he hates you. And he proves he says things about the family. He doesn't give a shit who it is. That's fundamentally what he believes. And I'm not saying I would react that way per se, but I can understand the thought process of somebody being I hate the people who disagree with me on this because of what it led to.
It's the corruption. I get where you're coming from. It's corrupt. It's the corruption of it all. Yes.
You're going to take shit. You're a content guy. You're going to take shit to have an opinion like that about, basically a fallen police officer when other people were involved, especially a case like this. Even if you don't think they were a part of it, there's some things that just look weird, whether you draw it up or not. If we're butt dialing this or making a million calls or getting rid of our phones at very timely opportunities, it just looks
too many questions. It's too yeah.
Right. And if we're going to defend those people who did that thing, you got to imagine somebody's going to call you an asshole on Twitter. It's just going to happen.
Let me ask you a question. Just do you think if Turtle Boy at some point got evidence in the last year, so the original story broke on April 18th of 2023.
Yep.
If he got some evidence in the last year that showed, whoa, maybe you're not going in the right direction, what do you think he would do?
So I know what you're alluding to, by the way. However,
I don't.
And I'm not even talking. And I'm not even talking about that specifically. I'm just saying, just generally. I know we know what we're talking about, but I'm talking about just generally. Let's say he had enough evidence to realize. Because a lot of the claims that he made that were important to him have been explained.
Right.
The idea, I talked to him on the phone last year, and he said the main reason he believed that there was a conspiracy was because the Canton police did not find taillight pieces at the scene, but the state police found it later. But that's explained now. I explained it to him on the phone back then, but now there's more evidence to confirm it.
But Kevin, But
you know.
Kevin, it's not I get what you're saying, but it's also not explained, really. Like, realistically, I understand what the Commonwealth had said. I understand what Canton Police Department said. I get Saraf, Mulaney. I covered every single day of this. I watched this. I know all of the pre-court documents. And here's the deal, is that had they found one piece of taillight in the morning at 6:07 a.m. when they responded to that scene, at the beginning of, well, yes, okay, let's say it's between 3 and 4 and 5. I don't know how many inches of snow. Men never tell the truth about how many inches. So I don't know exactly what I don't know exactly what had happened.
I'll tell you the truth.
But when the sun had come up, and yes, it was not, it's clearly, it's a blizzard. It's a bad day, but it was still light, and it was still the least amount of snow. Had there been one piece of tail light that was found by Canton, she did it. You got it. Because I know exactly how you feel about, and you've gone through it methodically with the 414 when when the Lexus was picked up, and then taken back to the Sally Port. And yes, you're like, oh, there wouldn't be enough time. But Kevin, it still wasn't found till after it was at the Sally Port.
Yeah, but I can explain it to you though, like Kim, and I was looking at this at the trial. This was the explanation I gave Turtle Boy, but I didn't know for sure until I saw Officer Saraf's dash cam video. So if you look closely at it, what you'll see is a plow bank that is, I don't know, it's hard to tell. It's not big, but maybe it's 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet or something like that. And also Lucky testified. He gave away the truth. David Yannetti asked him, what time did you last plow Fairview? And he said 5:30. This has to be the truth, because if you look at the ring video of the driveway when Karen leaves at 5:08, probably about 2 inches of snow there, maybe 1.5 inches to 2 inches of snow, right? And that's about, Lucky has said in other interviews, you really don't start plowing until you get 2 inches of snow. So he probably started plowing around that time. Those taillight pieces were buried in that plow bank. And so when the Canton police got there, the snow around John's body had not accumulated because of the body warmth there. That's the only area that they searched. So the taillight piece, they never were going to take a shovel to a crime scene that automatically reverts to the state police. It wasn't a conflict thing. This with the exception of Worcester, Springfield, and Boston, every town in Massachusetts, if there's a suspicious death, unattended death, this is the way it goes, it automatically goes to the state police. They were never going to take a shovel to that crime scene, and they were never going to find those pieces without a shovel. So, and
but Kevin, they took a leaf blower, babe. Like, they took a leaf blower. And we saw the video of the leaf blower, right? Around, and that was like proud of that. They were proud of that because they were improvising and they were MacGyvering it. They were doing what they needed to do in a situation in which they had not typically come upon, correct? So I'm watching Gallagher methodically, layer by layer was his exact verbiage, layer by layer, blowing that snow with that leaf blower. But we didn't find one piece of red taillight.
Because they weren't there. Most of those pieces were plowed up in the snowbank. And the other pieces were scattered a little bit further away, but they weren't going to that snow. They just looked around that body. Now, one thing that didn't come out in the trial, because they couldn't have asked this question, this is something you guys are like, why were they picking up those blood samples there?
Why were they picking up blood samples?
The ones that they collected in the cups.
The ones in the solo cups.
Yes.
Because I don't know why. Because
there's only one reason. No, like if you have a hit and run on the street in front of you, right? They're not going to collect the blood. There's no reason to. You want a blood sample from the victim, you can find it inside the body. The only reason to collect the blood is if you're thinking it might belong to someone else.
Yeah.
And they couldn't say that. See, Adam Lally couldn't ask that in the trial, because then the next question from the defense is going to be, well, if you thought it was from someone else, why didn't you investigate the house?
Right.
But clearly they collected that. And then the state police, by then, they just threw it out. They didn't even look at that blood. They testified. They just threw it out. The reason was because by the time the state police were there to pick up the evidence later on, they knew it was a hit and run. And so they had no interest in that blood that was in the solo cups.
There's not a part of you, even in reading some of the reports early on, that read that and said like they didn't find any taillight pieces, and then all of a sudden like Berkowitz shows up, and like there's not a part of you that at all thought that was strange at any point during the
Sure.
process?
Sure, and you have to weigh all of the evidence, and you're never going to completely eliminate all of the odd things, but you try to tie up the ones you can, like why did it go to the Sally port? And then at the same time, you're looking on the other side for evidence that is either indisputable or really, really powerfully probable. So like I've gone over the timeline. This is a two-sided coin in many ways in this case. So either Karen did this or there was a massive planting of evidence. And the question of the planting of the evidence, this was the thing that I focused on is, so like you said, the tow from Dighton was at 418 and the main taillight piece was found at 445. It's a 45-minute ride normally to Dighton, from Dighton to Canton. This is in a blizzard at rush hour. And we now know that the truck got there, the tow truck at 5:31 and pulled in at 5:36. There was no time to pick up these pieces and go bury them in the snow. By then, WBZ was already set up and filming, and the CERT team was largely there, and they were all there by 5:41. So unless they're all in on it,
Who were the
it seems
unaccounted
unlikely.
people that were there that the Mass State Police don't know, and how and the CERT team said they weren't there. They weren't
Yeah,
from the CERT team, and
right.
I just wonder who was there. And I'm not saying everyone is in on it, Kevin. Here's my
Mm,
only thing is, for me, and I have to always go back to this, was that Officer John O'Keefe's injuries, just as a registered nurse, I'm a real one. I don't just play one on TikTok and on YouTube. I'm a real Commonwealth of Massachusetts
And I
registered nurse.
thank you. I've dealt with a lot of nurses, and thank you. I really appreciate your
Yeah,
profession.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And so, that his injuries to me, and having dealt with many MVA motor vehicle accidents, and I actually have dealt with reverse motor vehicle accidents where someone
Mhm,
has been run over, and unfortunately they went underneath the carriage of the vehicle. However,
mhm,
it just was very problematic to me to
mm,
see that he did not have bruising, that he did not have breaks, that he did not have even his body not having frostbite from being outside
mhm,
from the hours of, if allegedly at 12:32, right, was struck
mhm.
by the vehicle. And
Sure.
then he is found, 5.5, 6 hours later. That does
Mhm,
not compute medically in my brain. So,
mhm,
do I know? And I've never tried to say at any time that I know exactly what happened to Officer O'Keefe. I have no idea why? Because I wasn't the trooper who was supposed to investigate as thoroughly to ensure that I
mm,
gave the results for a family of a fallen police officer, and to not,
mm,
in my opinion, pin it on, or not pin it, yes, pin it on a girlfriend who was, as cooperative as she could be when she was section 12 that very morning. You would have never
mhm.
even had a blood alcohol content of Karen had she not gone to that hospital that day. And there would have never
Yeah,
been
well, that
talk
was
about
because her
Karen
father was the
driving.
one that asked for that, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
No, I don't mean it like that. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
her going to the hospital was a section 12. She wasn't
right.
asked by police for for a blood draw. There was never
Yeah,
a question of her alcohol consumption I'm talking early after they got the
right, right.
waterfall. Yes, I know. But like, those things were not even addressed. And when you try to look at those pieces, I know that you say it doesn't always add up and it's not going to make a perfect picture. And I don't expect it to. But the amount of gaping holes, in my humble opinion, as it relates to Officer O'Keefe alone and Karen Reed's vehicle, I
Mhm,
cannot get there where the Commonwealth wants me to go. And that's hard for me, Kevin, because my father's a cop. My grandfather was the first Waltham cop. Like, I don't
mhm,
come from a family of people that hate. I stand with good police officers. And Officer John O'Keefe, by all accounts, was an incredible police officer and an incredible man.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, the injuries, it's so important to explain them. And even now, after the trial, we're all still trying to figure out. And like I said, again, you have to weigh all the evidence and see,
Yeah.
I'm not in the medical profession. And so I was really looking forward to better explanations from the state than we got. and we didn't get them. Like I've heard this question, why wasn't there frostbite? But not being in the medical profession, I thought maybe there might be an answer to that. It was not provided in the trial, so there may be reasons for that. The bruising, why isn't there more bruising? There were 2 broken ribs.
But
They
that was
also,
from compression, though. We
possibly,
figured that
but
out.
we don't know. We don't know. She said that was possibly from the chest compressions due to CPR, but possibly not.
Well,
And
just because it was his medial stynum, you know what I mean? Like that wouldn't make sense. Like,
but that's
where
exactly where the collision would have been too. And so I mean, so I don't know. And also, I know, so you learn so many things through these cases, right, Kim? So
Mhm.
one of the questions that I had was, I would assume that in cases like this, it would be standard to put the body as part of the autopsy through an X-ray. They don't. In this country, they don't do that. They do that in Europe and Japan, but they don't opt. So we don't know if there were broken bones or not. You only would know about visibly broken bones. So say like, would that be like a compound fracture or something like that, right? So that if there are fissures in the arm that wouldn't be detectable to the naked eye, we don't know, right? So I mean,
She said she did palpate though, like so, and you would hope that a seasoned medical examiner who did go above and beyond and make sure that his skull and his brain were, he went to neuropathology and had his specific brain because of all, and he did have several cranial fractures, right, and all the way to his occipital base of his bones, of his eyes. But I mean, not occipital.
those were not correct though. The testimony, there was no breaks in the orbital bones.
It was at the base. It's a basal, so it looks like, just because it's at the bottom, it is cranial. You're right. It wasn't orbital fractures. It was just at the bottom of your eyes. So
right.
Yeah, and those were because the fractures had gone across. So like they had it, whatever. Long story short, they were diffuse fractures, meaning that they had spread out everywhere after that initial impact to his occiput. Also, though, Kevin, as I know that you're not a medical professional, but when you're looking at Officer John O'Keefe's 2-inch laceration, right, 2.5 inches laceration to the right occiput of the back of his head, that doesn't make sense to me. That because if the theory was that he had cracked his head and on the pavement, that would have made sense. But for a January where there was no testing of how hard the ground is, you wouldn't just have a 2.5-inch laceration to a right side, like slightly leaning out of the right of the middle of your brain. I mean, the middle of the back of your head to the right. That doesn't make sense either, because it should have been every part that had touched would have had significant trauma impact from the ground. And so that doesn't really line up for the Commonwealth, in my opinion, either. Just saying.
Do you think, in your medical opinion, it looked like he was in a fight?
Well, no. Well, okay. No. Well, here's what it looked like to me: blunt force trauma to the back of the head. Do I know what happened? Do I know what happened? It looked like something was smashed in the either his head smashed something, or he was smashed by something. Is what I believe.
But you don't see the other signs, like in terms, like I obviously I'm not a medical expert, but as someone who spent a lot of years in the bar industry, I can speak a little bit authoritatively on fights and what it looks like being in them and stuff like that. And your hands don't look like that at all. Their hands are going to be abrasions all over them and on every knuckle, and your face.
But that's depending on how long, right? How long that fight was too, Kevin. You could have got one smash in, and then somebody else knocks you out. You don't know.
Right. Yeah. We're getting into the speculation game, which is like nobody thinks. I don't think there was intent. Obviously, I don't think anybody thinks there was intent on any angle of this. I don't think if it did happen in the house, they didn't mean to kill him.
The defense implied that they planned it. That's what they said in the trial that in the waterfall, that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert were planning this
to potentially rough him up back of the house, or to send some type of message. But at that point, anything could have happened. It could have not happened the way they wanted to. An accident could have happened when they quickly got into a argument. We could go for days. At the end of the day, the state provided an individual who said that the murder weapon, which is a vehicle, caused the individual to fly 30 feet into the air onto the grass to get that
That's not what the
laceration.
state said.
All right, so correct me.
And I understand, but let me,
Haven't
I understand why people think that. Okay, but again, what the state said, what Trooper Paul said was there is basically a debris field around where the collision was with the taillight, and he was able to identify within 5 feet a location of an area of impact. Okay, it's an estimation within 5 feet. Now that was about 15 feet from where John was found. But then when under cross-examination, Alan Jackson pointed out that there was 3 weeks later, the last piece of taillight to be found was over near the fire hydrant, which was 30 feet from where John was. So he managed to kind of make it get Trooper Paul to fumble up a little bit and say, well, but Trooper Paul was not saying that the point of impact was where that piece was. That's an outlier piece that didn't fit the pattern of the debris field. We don't know how it got there. It was 3 weeks later. Did it get plowed there? Did it get shoveled there? Or in any kind of explosion or something like that, you have a debris field, but there are outlier pieces that ricochet off something and go flying out in ways that can't be explained. But no, John was not sent 30 feet. He was sent about 15 feet.
So 15 feet would still put him, he's landing on the grass. So the hard grass is what would have had to cause the laceration in the back of his head, correct?
That's what the state theory said. He landed on the frozen ground.
Kevin, I wanted to, just because I know, and we could again do this literally all night. I wanted to ask you, just because this is my only, and thank you again for coming on with us, because it's a big deal.
We're not assholes. Kevin will come back.
We're not assholes. Yeah, we're not assholes by nature. But I do have, just I've gotten more of a strong conviction. But like you said, if there was anything that came out that was if there was a video that was Karen had injured him, right? If there was ring video footage, then Karen injured him, and he succumbed to those injuries. But my question is this, and I don't want to go down the physics and science and physics, because I know that is not what you want to hear. But you've kind of been really pushing on that the ARCA guys, that Crash Daddies did not have the Toyota Tech Stream. And the only thing that I wanted to give you my opinion on is that when Karen Reed was charged, when she was arrested, and when she was arraigned for the unaliving of Officer John O'Keefe, nobody had the Toyota Tech Stream data. They didn't get that until February of 2023.
February of 2023. So at that time, that's when the ARCA guys were doing their research. So and they would have known, these guys were specialists in that. They have on their website an article saying how we can get data from TechStream that might not show up in the black box report. They have that was published in 2021. They know that the TechStream data will pick this stuff up, and yet they didn't ask for it. And the state, so the feds had it and didn't give it over. So it's very, very suspicious. And there are other, we can, at some point, maybe we could go into the ARCA thing, and because this is a story that I've wanted to get Dave to stay on for a long time, because what is going on with the feds here is corrupt. And this for another day, we'll come back, but it's extremely corrupt. Those ARCA guys are qualified, no doubt about it. But they were trying to prove, to help, for some reason, to help the feds who are trying to help Karen, that John was killed in the house. But but I do want to answer quickly. You said there's no, for instance, ring photographs or video showing the accident, but there is something just as good. There really is. And maybe you can put it on your website. I sent the image to Dave earlier.
Oh, you want to?
So I took the effort of getting all of the data from documents. This is not in dispute. This is data from the documents. And it really is bulletproof, because it shows. So Karen and John punched in 34 Fairview in Waze, into his Waze, because they had never been there before. And this was a mile away. We know from that Waze that Karen missed the turn onto Fairview. Waze will have to recalculate or tell you to do a 3-point turn. So we know exactly what time that was. It was at 12:23 and 46 seconds. Then So they do a 3-point turn, which registers in the vehicle data because it was a sharp 3-point turn. So this triggered the creation of event. Then they do make the turn onto Fairview at 12:24 and 18. So this means that the 3-point turn that they made on Cedar Crest was roughly in the middle between the 23 and 46 seconds and the 24 and 18 seconds. So I put it at 12:24:02 plus or minus 5 seconds. Now, the reason that time matters because the second event in the vehicle data takes place 8 minutes and 4 seconds after that. 8 minutes and 4 seconds. So 8 minutes and 4 seconds after 12:24 and 02 puts that at 12:32 and 6 seconds, plus or minus 5 seconds. And then we'll add in the last piece of data. John's health app showed that he last moved at 12:32 and 16 seconds. This is a bulletproof correlation that you can't beat.
My only rebuttal to that would be, though, Kevin, and this is great. And if all those things are from all the documents, that sounds correct. It looks all correct. I would have to definitely go back and look, but I don't think you would fib about that at all. No. However, we do realize that Karen did connect to One Meadows home Wi-Fi at 12:36. Yep. I know that you say that we don't know if it was at 12:36:01 or if it was at 12:36:59. But at the end of the day, we can't, like, I know that you say it could be done or you've had people do it in 4 minutes, but we don't know what Karen did. So if it was
no, but it's a reasonable, all you have to do is average 35 miles an hour and you'll do it in 4.5 minutes. So you don't even have to drive particularly fast.
But why does it say 7? Why does it say 7 minutes on 7 minutes via Washington Street?
So what we found is that the Google program assumes you're doing an average speed of 25. So it's very conservative.
But we're watching, then we're going to say that Waze is correct if we're not going to say that Google Maps is correct.
I'm not saying it's incorrect. What we're saying is that's when it gives you an estimate of the trip time, it's calculating based on it's an estimate that you're doing 25. It's not that it's incorrect. It's just you don't have to drive at 25. You can drive at 35. And if you're driving at midnight with no other cars around and you're angry, you're not going to drive at 25 miles an hour.
But also, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts did not make this argument whatsoever. Like,
no.
Are you? Yeah. So I mean,
I hope they do next time.
We can only go by what was said at trial. Yeah. This might be accurate, but unless they bring it up in the second trial, unless they heard one of your lives and agree with you, that you can't. You know,
Adam Lally actually said in his opening statement that the accident happened at 12:45, and then in his closing he said 12:30. So I can't explain what they do and how they do it, but I mean, who can blame the jury for being confused after 9 weeks of that?
Right. Well, we'll get you back on, and maybe we'll dial in to your point on ARCA a little bit more specific aspects of this case. It's not going away. Yeah. Before we go, what do you think are the next steps? How is the judge going to rule on the motion? All that stuff. Are the jurors coming in? What do you think is going to happen?
I would think that she's probably going to be, just for reasons of safety and consistency, and not wanting to be reversed, she's going to stay consistent and not overrule, not grant the defense its motion. But she's taking her time because she's probably consulting Supreme Judicial Court people that she might have connections to. She's got to actually write this decision based on case law. She's not going to just rule it. But I don't think it matters too much to the state. I think that they know that the only realistic chance of conviction here is on manslaughter.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Right. All right. Unless you got something, Kim, we can take some calls. You got to. You got anything for Kevin, or are you good?
I just want nope. Thank you, Kevin. You were not heated or anything, and I hope that that we're able to have those conversations, because even though we can just be respectful to one another, and that, like, I don't wish harm upon you or your family or anybody else, and I wish, and all I hope for, and I know that people say that you can't, but I truly and deeply hope for justice for Officer John O'Keefe, and I believe right now myself that does not include convicting Karen, but however the justice system will pan out next time, we shall see, and I hope that there is justice.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. And civil discourse like this is really the only way to eventually get to the truth, if the truth is the goal, right? So I appreciate it. Thank you. And let's just keep asking questions and stay open to whatever evidence comes out now.
All right, Kevin, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bye, Kevin.
See you, Kevin. All right. That is Kevin Lenihan, Yellow Cottage Tales. And Kim, there's moments there where I just sat back because I didn't know if we were going to get lightning on a bottle. I didn't know
We
if we were going
weren't.
to get Kim going off. You were
I
on your
couldn't.
best behavior. I
Best
respect it.
behavior.
I respect the hell out of it. All right, let's put the phone number up there. We could take some phone calls. Did you like what you heard out of Kevin? Did you not like what you heard out of Kevin? Do you just want to shit on us? What do you want to do? Phone numbers there.
Let's have a dance party while they're calling. Put something on. We gotta shake off. We gotta shake off and become who we really are. That was very.
We'll get booted from YouTube for playing music too long.
Let's do it. We'll just
Yeah,
do
we
it
don't
for a minute.
normally. That's why we don't normally do interviews like that. That's not. That
No,
was
we don't do that.
That was new and fresh. But that again, the chemistry that we have. You talk, I talk. You talk, That's perfect
Look
radio
at
etiquette right there. It's perfect. So
Good job, Rage.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Let's see if they work. And this is our first live YouTube show. So everybody watching, please subscribe. We've never been live on YouTube before. It has literally never happened until right now. So please subscribe to the channel. Of course, we'll still do TikTok, but people were complaining that they couldn't watch us on demand. And so we listen to the people. So, all right, 6-3, actually, that's 631. I think it's 631.
I need Vince to call me.
Let me turn my music off. Hold on. 631. Might actually, is that Vince? No, 631.
I didn't hear any music.
Hello, hello. 631, you hear? Oh, they hung up. They got nervous. All right, hold on. 774. You got us, 774?
Yes, I do.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys today?
We're good. Is this Vince? Or
Is
no?
it Vince?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No.
Okay, your voice was a little muffled there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a resident right next door. I'm over in Stoughton.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the other day I was at the store. It's just a quick story, and then I got to tell you guys something. There was a bunch of people in the car yelling. So I turn and I look. It's one Jennifer McCabe walking through the parking lot. And they were giving her such a hard time that she turned around, walked out of the store, got in her car, and left.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I was going to go up and ask for an autograph, but I didn't think I'd have the guts.
No, I don't think you need to do that.
So I've been trying to get in touch with you guys to let you know, because I'm in contact, not contact, but I'm a subscriber to
You can't hear him at all?
down in New York.
It sounds terrible.
Okay, hold on. Call back on a better line. I'm sorry. I was being nice. I didn't want to interrupt him, but you could hear him. You just couldn't hear him. You know what I'm saying? Kim?
Hi. Yeah.
You could hear him. You just couldn't make out what he was saying.
I could not. Well, no. Yeah, it was mum. I could literally hear him mumbles. It sounded like marbles.
Yeah. Right, because we've never done YouTube live before and we had problems. So I just want to make sure you could hear him.
I could hear him.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. To that caller, if you can call back on a better line, call back on a better line. But 978.
He said he was in a parking lot and wanted to ask Jennifer McCabe for an autograph.
978. Save us. You're there. We know you're there. 978. This is brutal. I mean, I know they're there. This is not us. I know for a fact it's not us.
They don't want to talk to us anymore.
No, they're calling and then it's busy lines. Is this the same 774 with the bad line or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
Are you hearing better, no, Kim, or no?
Say something.
Hi, Kim.
Yeah, much better.
Okay. All right, try it. Go ahead. But be quick because it is a little tough. So keep going.
Yeah. Stephanie from New York and Long Island is waiting. I've been trying to let you guys know. She wants to get on your YouTube show, and she's waiting for Nurse Kim to send her a message.
Stephanie, is there an angle there with Stephanie?
No, we love Stephanie. Stephanie is a lawyer out of New York.
Oh, okay. All right, we could talk to Stephanie. All right, well, thank you for that.
She's a hot shit. We love her. She's a TikTok girl.
Okay, there we go. Calls are coming in. We just don't know if we're going to hear them. Anonymous. Hello, Anonymous.
Hello, I had two questions actually.
Hello.
I wanted to know, one is, why do you think the defense only called such a small amount of witnesses, 6 witnesses, when they had a significant longer witness list than that?
It's a good question. I just think at the end of the day, they knew the ARCA guys probably were going to be the absolute assassins in that case, right? I would assume they just didn't feel like they needed it.
I thought it was just because the trial went on for so long, Lovey, and that they were saying to themselves, like, oh my gosh, we can't keep these jurors here longer, because the longer a trial goes on, the less zoned in we are, right? Because you can only keep so much information in your brain. So I think they said, listen, we've seen what the Commonwealth put up, and that they knew that ARCA needed to come. And then I think that they also believed that, that their medical examiner as well.
Who could they have brought on? Like who could they have brought on, Kim, that you think? Like,
they should have called Tony from Ira Lexus, and he's my guy, who is going to be my key cycle man to the stars.
Yep.
And that just, to me, if they could get some, listen, if they get Tony to tell them that there is no way that key cycle 1162, which is what Toyota Tech Stream states, where the incident occurred at the 24 miles an hour at 74% pulse pedal pressure for 62 feet. But then there is no key cycle 1163, and then 1164 is Trooper Paul with the car. So it just was it's unavailable to be normal. It's not real.
Yep.
Okay, it all makes sense. Totally makes sense. And one other question, unrelated to the case, but I wanted to ask this: is Nurse Kim single?
Yes.
No, she's
DM me your phone number. I'll make sure she gets it. 716. And actually, that's been popping up way too much, Kim, by the way.
Listen, a man was ready to risk it all today.
You're going to start mentioning Mr. Nurse a little bit more, Kim. Maybe you're hiding that a little bit too much, because there's a lot of guys.
Get a life.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys coming out of there. All right, 716.
I got a jog.
Guys, women too. If you're in love with Nurse Kim, get the fucking line. We're all in love with
her. Right.
Women and men.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, how's your dishwasher, by the way?
It's better. I guess somebody said that, like, I didn't really realize this. Do plastics like not really dry well anyway? I guess that's a thing. Is that a thing?
Who's putting plastic? You're a psychopath. I should actually have you go to a therapist.
Like Tupperware?
No one puts. No. What are you, weird? You hand wash your Tupperware.
Yeah, no freaking way. You peasant.
Hand wash all plastic.
Absolutely not. Oh my God. Who would freaking?
Hi, everybody in the chat. In the chat, do we hand wash our Tupperware and all of our plastic? And then what goes in the dishwasher? Dishes.
Imagine buying $1,000, $2,000 appliance and then not utilizing it for everything it's made to be used for. Like, why am I hand washing anything if I just spent all that money? It's dumb stuff. All right.
Well, my Nana always told me to do that, so maybe that's just Italian OCD. I don't know, but I've never.
Megs, by the way, Megs, you are dialed into us over on TikTok. What did you think about the Kevin interview? Because we're not interviewers, but I thought Nurse Kim was A+ on that one.
Absolutely. Well, by the way, my first bit was going to be like, "Hi, this is Vince's assistant," because I was talking to him in the DMs, and he did say he had a meeting today, but he was going to try to pencil us in.
Okay, I don't think that one would have played. I like what you went with. Yeah, I like what you went with. You made a good gut decision.
Well, hang on a second, Dave, because for a damn minute, I was on your side with the plastic. Okay?
Oh,
so
shit.
don't make me
I'm sorry. That would have been a great bit.
I put my plastic in the dishwasher.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway.
Oh, Megs.
Anyways,
you got to do it.
So
Megs, I love you. I love you. So you're saying to me that we don't know what we would do without you, and we all want everyone to know that Megs actually has a producer credit in this programming after the Cedra incident of 2024.
She has equity. She has equity in the program.
She has equity. She basically is, she's in this with us, and we miss Cedra. Cedra was lovely yesterday.
I just had like a mini. I went live on TikTok just to get people to come over to the YouTube because it's brand new. So everybody, thank you for coming over because people don't know it exists. I just went live and I got like Cedra 2.0. I did some like stupid TikTok battle or something, and this woman's just screaming out a different. Like I think she was speaking Spanish. I had no idea what was going on, but people were enjoying it, so I let it ride. Yeah. Sorry, Megs. What do you got?
Fantastic. Yeah, just really quick. That was actually the reason why I was calling. I thought that was a very interesting conversation, and I actually loved that. Like that's one of the biggest reasons, why I gravitated and like towards Nurse Kim and you guys and Dave and stuff like that was like when I started modding for her, she was like, don't mute, we don't mute people with differences of opinion. We welcome it as long as you're being kind and all that good stuff. But I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate, hey, no, I'll hear you out. And I think all of us were on the same page when it comes to the trial and everything like that. It was like, I went into it with open ears. I was wanting some evidence that proved to me, one way or the other. I was there for justice for Officer O'Keefe, like period. No matter what it was that the evidence pointed to. The prosecution didn't prove to me of that, but the conversation that you guys had, I think went really well. You were able to everyone was able to, speak their mind in a loving and kind way. And I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you. Wow, look at you, Megs. I don't think
Yeah.
Megs would she wouldn't say if we sucked though. So that's the only thing. Like I
She would
respect
never
her.
say it. She would never
Right.
say it.
Right. She wouldn't have called. She just would have. Yeah.
No, I
She
wouldn't.
would have.
Right.
Well, I would, and I wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah,
All
we.
right.
You can tell us we
I'll
suck.
free up the line, but you did mess up the calls that one day.
It
Dave,
didn't happen.
remember
I don't
that
even know what
first
you're
one?
talking about. This is our first live on YouTube,
Just
Megs.
kidding.
So, all right, Megs. Thank you.
It's a full moon. Okay. All right, bye.
Megs is the best. So anybody who's
Oh.
new here or anybody who's kind of just coming because of YouTube instead of knowing what we do on TikTok, Megs is there day one in the chat supporting us left and right. She is legitimately the best. So, all right, 203 is up. 203.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, I love you guys.
And we love
I've
you.
been catching you guys live. Yes, and you're gonna get a lot of boyfriends on.
Oh, she is
YouTube.
cleaning up. She is cleaning up on the internet right now.
Who?
Oh,
You.
I just want to say I loved your interview,
Oh.
and I thought that was great.
This is very
Thank
nice.
you, lovey.
But my question is, why couldn't you get into he said that the FBI is trying to help Karen Reed. I don't understand.
Yeah, he thinks the FBI is like corrupt right now. So we'll get I think that's a bigger thing. We'll get into it. We only wanted to do like 20 or 30 minutes with him so we can make sure we get to our phone calls and stuff like that. We'll have him back and he'll this isn't going away. And so we'll get his whole viewpoint on that. But he did tease it a little bit, just saying that ARCA didn't have all the information, and he kind of said what we think the police did and what I believe the police did in the Sandra Birchmore case and what I believe the police have done in obviously a lot of other cases is they walk into a scene, they make a determination, and then they investigate toward whatever that determination was. I think that's what he was basically alluding to when it came to ARCA. He was saying the FBI thinks something happened. Hey, ARCA came along and basically proved what the FBI was thinking
Sure.
deliberately.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll get back into it.
All right. Well, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be watching.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
I
lovey.
guess she's disappointed we didn't go longer with Kevin. So that's nice. That's a good thought.
I think it's like small baby bites, right? It has to be palatable for everyone because it's a lot, and like you said, the emotions run high. So you want to just be palatable for people to take it in. And I don't want to listen, Kevin seriously believes what he believes. Like I seriously believe what I believe. You can't just turn that off in someone, but you know what you can do? Not be a fucking asshole. And that's just, sorry guys, pardon my French, but like try not to do that. I know it's difficult. I know it's really hard, but if you want anybody to have an open conversation with you, maybe calling them a see you next Tuesday and you're a dumbass and you don't know anything, that's really not the way to like initiate it, right? So Dave, you were the one who you've been, hey, also sidebar, I'm going to give you shit right now. You've been sliding in his DMs for a year.
Well, that makes it seem like we've been like constantly communicating. No, we were in touch early. I think when he was on the side, no, I wouldn't say he was like on the Karen is innocent side, but he was like, and I think he's always been curious, but he almost felt early on that he was on Team Karen to some extent, but we just shot the shit a little bit. Nothing crazy. And then I think we talked a little Birch more, and then he'll chime in every now and then. Like, I don't know why he gives me like too much credit. He thinks I'm somebody. I'm nobody, Kevin. Like
you are somebody. You are no. Stop it.
Not a journalist right now.
You did the case.
I'm not a journalist.
You are somebody.
I'm not a journalist.
I just don't get. My thing is, I don't understand how anyone cannot believe that there is corruption with the Birchmore case that goes into a lot of levels of the same exact Norfolk DA's office, the same departments, and then just say like, no, there could never be anything that went on with Officer O'Keefe.
Well, the Birchmore thing, like, it just feels super lazy. Whereas the Karen Reed thing, what?
I don't think it was lazy.
The investigation into the death of Sandra Birchmore wasn't lazy.
No, I think it was intent. No, I don't. I think that as soon as they found for Guarino to not find a text message, David, from Matthew Farwell is not lazy. It is not incompetence. It is an absolute miscarriage of justice for Sandra Birchmore.
Sure. But they didn't even like fake it. Kind of what I was saying with like some of the stuff that went wrong in the investigation with Karen Reed. Like, there's just so many easy things that they could have chose either to do or not to do that they didn't. And it's like, they didn't even talk to Sandra Birchmore's neighbors in the apartment building. They didn't even knock on one door. And it's just
they didn't though. The only door they knocked on for Officer John O'Keefe was across the street at Kelleher, and they got some solo cups from him. And nobody else was contacted. So I'm gonna say that this is a pattern of behavior, in my humble opinion.
I'm hoping things open up with not to digress in the Bircher. I'm hoping things open up. It feels like the AG is serious finally, because they've had the case for a while and they weren't doing anything with it. It feels like they're serious. Michelle McPhee, if you haven't noticed on Twitter, is clearly working on something. I won't say if I have or haven't talked to her. Or if other people have or haven't talked to her, but she's clearly working on something, and I think she has some connections. So hopefully that'll work out. But we'll see. All right, we got another. Oh, where'd you go? Kim just disconnected, so I'll take the call while Kim comes back to life, and then we'll wrap it up because we've been on for a little bit here. All right, you're on. I think it's what's the zip code? 289. Let me get Kim back on here. 289.
Yeah.
Hello. I don't know if you're an international number, so I technically don't know. What do you say? It's after like the 44 would be their area code, right?
I can't hear.
Yeah, Ireland.
Yes, Ireland. How are you, Ireland?
Yeah, I lived in Boston.
Yes. And you're following the case?
I was in East Boston, Camp Chancellor.
East Boston. Look at you. Are you what? What? Are you following the case?
I've been following this case from day one.
Okay. And what are your thoughts?
And Sandra, God rest her soul.
Right.
Sandra Birchmore.
Yes.
I've been back and forth from Ireland to Boston for years.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. I didn't know. It was just too slow. I'm sorry. I just like, I love her though. I think she DMs with us. It was just, I'm in a zone right now where we're kind of.
Oh no! Well, I thought that she was. I was going to ask her, Dave. I was going to say, "Were you drinking? What are we doing?" I thought that it was like maybe the future. It was 5 o'clock somewhere.
Thanks for the help. You like just sitting there staring at the screen. What the hell? I could have used some backup there. Could have made up some kind of lie to help me. Like, oh, Dave, I got to go quick or something. I don't freaking know.
Sorry.
You messaged me because we'll wrap it up here. You messaged me about a couple things that you wanted to talk about for some. What do you want to talk about today? It was the Turtle Boy thing. You wanted me to explain it or something?
Yes. There was a couple of, you made an offhand comment in your live, in our live yesterday, the Rogue live.
Right.
That somebody said when Turtle Boy was arrested and you said, "You're welcome," I put him there. So would you like to explain that?
Yes. Okay. So that's just been a random joke. I think I actually stole it from Kirk Minahan. And basically what happened was, we don't have to go into the detail, but when Turtle Boy had his whole thing going on where Turtle Boy got arrested, I don't know I think it was the first time. And basically the Medfield police were looking for him. They had a bolo out for him. I got a tip that it was happening. I tweeted it out because that's what I would do. What? I got somebody
David.
said, why? What's the problem with that? He would do it if it was me. I never would have thought that if I knew about it, I would have thought Turtle Boy knew about it at that point. I don't know. Either way.
I'm sure he did.
Right. So
Right?
but police were looking for him. So I tweeted out, hey, a source just told me something's going on with Turtle Boy. 2 seconds later, I tweeted out, okay, they have a bolo out for him. He's clearly something's happening. I don't know what's happening. And so I tweeted it. And then he called me and he was like, I would just appreciate it if you took it down. He gave his whole reasoning. As I've constantly said on this thing, I am in no way a journalist whatsoever in this capacity, whether it be with Turtle Boy stories or with Karen Reed. So he asked me to do something. I was like, fuck it. I already did it. So I don't really know what deleting has to do with it anyway. And if I have it, because I'm a dipshit, I got to imagine a million other people had it at that point. That's just my gut feeling. And so that was what it was. So I just make that joke every now and then. So to everybody who think I didn't literally put him in jail or anything like that, but I just tweeted something out and that was that. So that's all. And I was the first one to tweet it, I guess, or the first one to acknowledge that the police were looking for him for whatever.
You were the one who really spread that like wildfire on the internet. Is that what you're saying?
I guess I started it, but it was happening. Whether, let's put it this way, Turtle Boy, if that happens to me, I have no problem with you doing that. And that's that. Like, I don't know what else to say. If the police are looking for me, it's going to get found out anyway. So, well, maybe not me. I'm a nobody, so it doesn't matter with me, but it was going to get found out for Turtle Boy. So that's that.
You're a somebody. You're a somebody to us, Dave.
Agenda for the week, because we're wrapping up here. We got another guest that I don't know if I'm going to push that guest to next Monday, just because, why would we use why would we just do an impromptu YouTube? And you know what I mean? All of a sudden next Monday, you want to just do an impromptu one?
Yeah, if the spirit moves him, we got to do it when it's hot.
All right. Well, he's calling me tomorrow to figure out when he can do it this week.
This is a good one, guys. We want this one. I want this one. So it's
an interesting guest with some, I'm assuming, a lot of inside information. I don't know what he will or will not get into. But us, we'll try to get it. And we'd rather we'll go after the dirt if we can get the dirt. So there's that. Kim, you're interviewing Sean McDonough, El Jefe.
I'm getting El Jefe. Yes.
I don't know if interviewing is the right word. Like, you and El Jefe together is going to be an absolute cluster. Holy shit.
He's so funny. So I'm going to do that and I said El Jefe 2.0 uncensored, because he's been on I don't know what he's doing lately. He's so reserved and demure, and he's very mindful.
He took I threw out John DePietro's video, which I thought was wacko, and he responded to it. And I think he took my response serious or something. Yeah, he did. I don't know why. First of all, that DePietro video, you can hate the person and disagree with them. You got to be able to laugh at things. I would even think Kevin Lenihan would be okay with me making fun of that ridiculous recreation he did. That was ridiculous. That, you have to make fun of things like that. Make fun of me every time we go live. There's something to work with. You got to make fun of that stuff. So that's all I meant. John DePietro, another one. So that'll be probably similar to what we've done today, I guess, a little bit. John DePietro wants to come on with us, or wants to is probably a stretch, but will come on with us.
I reached out to Krowski, and Krowski and I did have a conversation. So, guys, John Krowski Jr., he is hilarious. Listen, the man tweets at Kim Kardashian and expects her to actually respond. I mean,
we can't.
It's legendary. It's legendary.
I would feel bad bringing that up if he comes on, because it kind of is us trying to be better than. But because he's an attorney, he's respected, he's on court TV. We can't mention it. But the moment he signs off, I'm going to mention it. You know what I mean? We're going to start talking.
I think that I think I want to hear his side of the story. I need to know what happened there. I think that he'd be happy to let us know about his interaction, or, in theory, his starter conversation with Kim K. I need to know. Okay. But that is the thing, is that people have always said that nobody wants to reach out to anyone else. And then I was like, give me names, babe. I've never seen any attorney except Krowski Jr. that is vehemently on thinking that Karen Reed is guilty. So they gave me a couple of names. I reached out to every single name, and no one responded except Krowski. And Krowski said that he is busy he was busy in August. So
I would not say he's vehemently. I would not say he was vehemently. He was the first attorney I ever saw on TV that said she was overcharged, which was the point where I realized he was like one of the fair ones on TV. Even if I disagreed with some of his other takes about the case, he was going to be fair because he said that first, and then he went into his whole Colin Albert spiel because Colin Albert was a client of his and stuff like that. But he was fair in that beginning, so that's it. We got, where did I send you? Like that retired FBI guy is going to come on.
Yes.
He's one I don't think that has been out there with other people. He has
not. This is a big deal.
Right.
This is like the Bettero of FBI.
Don't hype him up that much. He probably is going to suck. What else? Anything else going on that we need to talk about? Or are we good? I think we're good.
Working on a retired Boston police officer. That's it.
For your show? A lot of people are asking. Oh, for us? A lot of people are asking, like, oh, what's the difference between you two going live and then Kim going live by herself? Like, what's up with Kim? Why isn't she including? That's what people are asking. I'm not causing a problem about it.
Oh, that's what people are asking.
I don't know.
You are such a chooch. Let me tell you something.
Are people DMing me like, why is she doing this? I have no idea, but it's fine. It's fine.
How about I created our YouTube page? I created our YouTube page, and you said, just keep doing it while you were hanging out with the fucking dragonflies, okay?
Right.
When you took your 2 weeks sabbatical, I was working for the both of us.
But I'm just saying, all of a sudden, El Jefe, of all people, you're going to book El Jefe and do a solo interview with him? You're not going to bring on El Jefe into our, like, idiocy? That'd be, like, the perfect...
David, I'm going to change it. It's going to be here. We'll do it here then.
Oh, no, I'm not. I don't want you to cave to the demands of the public. They're just...
Okay, I won't. That was your one offer. Anything else, guys, before we leave?
Yeah. All right. We're out of here. And we'll be back at some point. We'll be back, I'm sure, this week on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Mondays, every 6:30, we're going to do YouTube until we decide.
Monday Night Raw.
By the way, I'm going to download this and I'm going to stream it on TikTok. So it doesn't really matter to the people watching, but I don't know if you missed something and maybe you want to watch. Yeah, that makes no sense. I guess it's just to our TikTok people who work here with us. We're going to see it. But I'll stream it because I can, and that's that. So besides that, we're out of here, right? We got nothing else?
Nothing else. All right. Bye, lovies. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.